You still pray. You will still tick the box that says believer. So, why is there a question you won't let yourself finish? Here it is. It is not, is God real? You settled that years ago. The one that keeps you is quieter and is worse. Is he good? Is he good to me? Because if you are honest, somewhere in a hospital hallway, a lawyer's office, a silence that went on too long, you didn't stop believing God. You stopped trusting He was on your side. And here is the part nobody says out loud. You have put God on trial. You don't announce it. You just quietly move Him from father to suspect. You gather the evidence, the diagnosis, the betrayal, the prayer that hit the ceiling and came back down, and you build a case. If He were good, this wouldn't be happening. We do it because somebody handed us a definition of good that we never check it. Good means safe. Good means the plans work. Good means the people I love don't get hurt and the floor doesn't fall out. So when the floor falls out, the verdict writes itself. God is not good. But what if the definition is a lie? What if the problem was never God's goodness, but the word you measure Him with? There were three men dragged to the edge of that exact question. Babylon, a king, a golden statue 90 feet high, and one rule. When the music plays, you bow or you burn. There is a furnace already lit for anyone who won't. Three Hebrews, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, won't bow. And the king in rage gives them the offer every suffering believer secretly wants. One more chance. Bow and the fire goes away. Their answer is one of the most staggering things a human being has ever said with a furnace roaring behind him. They tell the king, "Our God is able to deliver us." And then, listen, they said three words that expose every version of faith built on a deal. But if not, hear the whole thing because most people only quote half of it. Daniel 3 verses 17 and 18. Our God, whom serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fire furnace, and He will deliver us out of the thine hand, O King. But if not, be known unto thee, O King, that we will not serve thy gods. Catch both halves. First, they say it plainly. He is able, and He will deliver us. That's bold faith, spoken at the mouth of a furnace. And then, in the same breath, the three words that make that faith unbreakable. But if not, they didn't pretend the rescue didn't matter. They say it out loud. He can and He will. But they refused to make His goodness depend on it. But if not, He is still God and we still won't bow. Do you see why they did? They unhooked God's goodness from their outcome. Their faith wasn't a transaction. Be good to me and I will worship you. There was nothing left to bribe. And that faith with nothing left to bribe is a faith that cannot break. So the king loses it, hits the furnace 7 times harder, so hot that the soldiers who carried them up die at the door. And then Nebuchadnezzar, the most powerful man on earth, goes pale. He stands up. He stammers a question to his own advisors. Did we not cast 3 men bound into the fire? 3. He counts again because he's looking at 4. So I see 4 men walking in the midst of the fire, and they have not hurt. And the form of the 4 is like the Son of God. They asked God to keep them out of the fire. He did something they never thought to ask for. He got in with them. And if your first instinct is to read your own fire as a sentence, as proof you are being punished, hear this. You are not weak, you are wired. Pain doesn't arrive alone. Your mind runs out to meet it and demands a reason. And the fastest reason lying around is always, I did something, or worse, God turned on me. Betrayal, injustice, and physical threat all set off the same kind of ancient alarm, whether the threat is a predator in the grass or a word from a doctor. So that voice, the one hissing, that is what you get, that is not the voice of God. That's smoke. Now, not every inner voice is smoke. The Spirit does call you home, and that voice always sounds like, come back, there is mercy here. But the voice that hisses, this is what you get, he's done with you. That's not God. That's the nervous system trying to force a furnace to make sense. Name it won't cool the fire, but it tells you whose voice you have been mistaken for God's. So whatever you can't see about God's goodness tonight, you can see this. A God who climbs into the fire with you is not a God who is against you. The cross is the evidence that closes the case. He that spared not his own son, but delivered him up for us all, how shall he not with him also freely give us all things? If he gave you the son in the middle of the fire, what is he really holding back? He didn't stay outside the flames. He never stays outside. So what do you do with a God like that while you are standing in the heat? You learn to pray the bravest prayer in the Bible, the three-word prayer of the three men who didn't know if they will live to finish it. You hold both halves at once. The first half is bold. God, I believe you can, so I am asking you to heal it, to restore it, open the door I've been pounding on. And then the half that sets you free. But if not, you're still good, and I will not bow to the lie that says otherwise. That prayer is not surrender, it is the opposite. It is you reaching up and lifting your faith off the hook of the outcome, so that when the outcome comes, whatever it is, it can never drag your faith down with it. Maybe you came here tonight and you're still in the furnace. The thing hasn't cooled, but if not, it's a verse for you. It is your address. Then do the one thing the king did. Look again. Count the figures in the fire. Because the promise was never that you will kept out of it. The promise from a furnace in Babylon to a cross on a hill to your kitchen floor at 2 in the morning is that you will never, not once, be in the fire alone. And if not already happened, if the door never opened, if you are reading this from the other side of a love that didn't get reversed, hear this carefully. That is not God failing you, and it is not your faith failing. The three men walk out of a furnace. Stephen didn't. And as the stones fell, he looked up and saw the heavens open. The promise held for both of them. Know that the fire will always lift, but that they were never for a second in it alone. You are not alone in the fire. You never were. And if that is starting to land, that He is in there with you, then there is one last thing you are going to need. The ground the whole thing stands on, because trusting Him in the fire only holds if you know how He actually looks at you while you are in it. What God's heart is really like toward the person who's got nothing left to give Him. that's where we go next. If this found you in the fire, subscribe. There is a new one lit here every week.